Thank you, everybody. Welcome to section 2 of our coaching training. So section 2 is going to talk about coaching ethics, and then we're also going to talk about building rapport with people. So before I get into this, though, I want to re-emphasize a little bit. I don't know how much I talked about this last week, but so this is a coaching training, and it's from the John Maxwell team training, and that is training for professional coaches. It's how to for people to be trained to be professional coaches. Now, what we're really going for here with this training is not necessarily professional coaches. Now, it may, we've got some things on the horizon that may turn into some professional coaching opportunities for our company. However, but the main focus right now, though, is just inside of our company coaching or workplace coaching, and that looks a little bit different than professional coaching. Professional coaching is you can coach somebody that you don't know or work with and help them to grow into regardless of what their industry is. But what we're looking at, what we're really focusing on, is coaching within our companies, within our industry. And the good thing about this type of coaching is it opens up more opportunities for us. For instance, my client that owns a landscaping business. I can only coach him. I can't really consult with him. I can't really mentor him on some of those things. But coaching I can do. In our business in pizza, all of you guys, not only once you learn how to coach, can coach other people, but you can also do some little crossover with some other things as well. You can certainly teach people. You can consult with them and help them know the best ways to do this. So this is unique in the sense that we're doing a little bit more than coaching, or at least we're preparing to do a little bit more than coaching when we engage with our fellow workers, employees, and so on. So just so you know that this presentation is modified a little bit. All of these presentations are modified to lean towards workplace coaching and not just professional coaching, but you're going to see some things where sometimes you'll see it come from the perspective of professional coaching, in which case, look past that a little bit, but sometimes I think it's worth bringing those things up anyway, just so that we can kind of understand the contrast. So with that, we'll get started here. So coaching ethics. Now, it stands to reason that if we're going to engage with people and we're going to talk with them on a regular basis and try to help them work through things and become better, that there's got to be some kind of guidelines, right? There's got to be some kind of a benchmark or a level that we need to hold ourselves to so that we can do it well and we can be more of a positive effect on people than a negative effect on them. And so this is where the coaching ethics comes in. It keeps us above board a little bit so we can have excellent results. A coach will conduct themselves with professionalism, honesty, and discretion. Okay, professionalism, honesty, and discretion. It's important that we understand that our boundaries and understand how a coach should present themselves, because it really is important. We need to have some kind of a standard type of behavior so that we're not a deterrent for the people we're coaching. We could actually steer people the wrong way if we're not driving down the middle of the road. If we're veering off one way or the other way, we could actually steer people the wrong way. And so it's important that we conduct ourselves with professionalism, honesty, and discretion. So this means that we need to make ourselves fit the part rather than make the part fit us. Hope that makes sense. So let me give you an example of maybe situations that fit the part, or when people fit the part and when they don't. I was just having a conversation with a gal at our church that's a director, and we were talking about one of the ushers that likes to wear sweatpants to church. And he wants to hold a position with some responsibility wearing sweatpants to church, and he's an usher. So the conversation came about of how we can expect ushers to dress a specific way so that they can fit the part. Now, obviously for this gentleman, it would not be appropriate for him to come to church and try to be an usher wearing maybe a three-piece suit or a tuxedo. That would just be awkward. It would make everybody uncomfortable. But also maybe he shouldn't be wearing sweatpants either. And so maybe the professionalism would be looking sharp enough that other people could look at you and say, okay, this is how I could dress. It looks sharp, but it's not overbearing, that type of thing. and it presents a good example to other people. And so coaches need to present themselves as good examples to other people as well. And so I think it's good that we present ourselves physically, the way we look as appropriate, not overdressed, not underdressed, but clean and look sharp. I think we need to sound sharp when we speak to other people. I don't think it's appropriate that we just speak the vocabulary of our youth from the neighborhood. I don't know that that's I don't know that's going to lift a lot of people up and help them to grow. I think that might hold people back. So I think it's important that we're responsible for the words that we say. We're really trying to set the example of how people could behave. So it's really important that we conduct ourselves with professionalism, honesty, and discretion. Discretion is more of knowing when to speak and when not to speak. That's a lot of discretion. So anyway, so we need to look sharp, sound sharp in order to be seen as sharp. So that's an important thing for that too. Okay, number 2, participants are assured that anything they discuss with their coach will remain confidential. So whatever they discuss with their coach will remain confidential unless required by law or the participant gives permission in writing. So even if it's workplace, we need to really honor that with the people that we're coaching. If we're coaching a manager or an assistant manager and we are engaged in conversation with them, they need to know and be able to trust that what we talk about is not going to be talked about with other people, and that will be remain confidential. Obviously, the professional coaching is where the law comes in here. Credibility is hard to get and easy to lose. We just need to remember that. And so we need to be sensitive to the people by being very discreet and not speaking of what's going on outside of the private conversation. Now, sometimes there'll be some small things that maybe as a leadership team you can discuss some of those things, but you just have to be careful with that. That can be something, especially if it's something that they specifically mention. Now, I'm going to tell you this, but I don't want you to mention this to anybody else, or I don't want anybody to know where this comes from. We need to obey that the best we can. Number 3, coaches will not be judgmental or give unwelcomed advice. So coaches will not be judgmental or give unwelcomed advice. So we don't need to project authority to the people that we're coaching. We don't need to give them a sense that we have some moral ground that's higher than theirs. We don't need to project to them that we are going to tell them what they're doing is wrong or right, and we're a better authority on that than they are. That's not what our job is as a coach. Our job really is just to let them be their own judge, but ask the right questions. We should not give unwelcomed advice. There's a lot of people, unfortunately, in this world, and I think a big part of my life I fall into this too. But we like to give advice. We like to tell people our opinions. It's part of the nature of people at times that we just like to tell people what they should be doing. Think about it. Your best friend, your neighbor, your sister or brother has a problem, and how quickly we can decide to just tell them what they need to do. Well, you need to dump that guy, or you need to get a new job, or you need to do this or that. We love just to tell people advice. And so when we're coaching people, we need to really be careful about advice that we give. Our primary job is not to give out advice. Our primary job is to frame things. We can certainly present options to them and help them to sort through, but ultimately decisions need to be their own. So it's really important that we're not judgmental by looking down on somebody's decisions. Now, sometimes we're going to have to confront people and say, look, I really want you to reconsider what you're thinking. But you can do that without being judgmental, rather than saying, oh, that's a stupid idea. Why would you do that? That doesn't make any sense. See, that's more condescending than anything. So anyway, so that's important. We are not experts in their life. We need them to be experts in their life. So we need to help them become experts in their life and avoid the temptation to be the higher authority in that relationship. So, okay. Number 4, coaches will be clear about the boundary between coaching and other therapies such as counseling. We touched on this last week just a little bit, but this is really important. As coaches, our job is to help people with their vision of the future and their steps on how to make that vision come true. That might be helping them with goals. It might be helping them with the way they think about the future or think about a lot of things. But we, as coaches, we're not therapists. We're not counselors. Counselors dig into people's past and they help them to understand why they think the way they do and try to unravel different things. And a lot of times there's a lot of dysfunction that can play into that. We are not going to diagnose those things. So we need to make sure that we understand that it's not our job to fix people. It's not our job to counsel people. And so even though we do a little bit of counseling, like I mentioned last week, we still need to we still need to make sure that we're not crossing that boundary. Our job is just to provide an environment for growth. Number 5, coaches will not recommend a specific therapist unless qualified to do so. So don't say, hey, my brother-in-law is a counselor at whatever, at the Abbey Center, and you should go see him. This is more of one of those technical things that we kind of have to train on this so that there's no misunderstanding. But we're not in the business of recommending anybody, or it's best just to let people know, hey, you're going to have to take this to a higher level, and you might want to do some research and find out who you could speak to that would be appropriate. So that's important.